Hello and welcome everybody. This is going to be my intermediate advice, advanced advice, whatever you want to call it. Mid-game advice is what I'll probably refer to it as. But what I want to tell you guys, I want to pick off from the beginner's advice and tell you guys a little bit more. As I see a lot of people struggling, I want to give you guys a little bit more of how to break out of middle game and move into end game at an efficient pace. Now, what was just released is this Fire Panda, and I want to go over him really quick. I see a lot of positive, but mostly negative reviews about him. I've seen so many people say that he's just garbage or this, that, or the other thing, but they're judging him off of arena. I use this guy on my raid team. He jumped me from using Fire Monkey King an insane amount. He brings so much security to your team's relief. This is a 30% heal. That's what really needs to be understood for your whole team over time. Of course, it's 2 turns, but the thing is he brings every buff you need in one ability for the raid. One ability, every buff. He's also a defensive unit with one of the best defensive base stats in the game. He scales off of defense on his 3rd ability for damage, so I built him defense, crit damage, defense, which I recommend that you do once you get to this stage of the game where you're thinking about raid and you're thinking about necro. Defense, crit damage, defense has shown the best success for me personally, and I haven't seen anybody even come close to what a defense, crit damage, defense Fire Panda is actually doing. Now, I've been putting skill ups on him because I think he's absolutely amazing for raid. He's probably one of the best units on my team right now. He completely changed my team. Actually, people were commenting about it. A lot of people that use my reps have been saying, your raid is insane now. Like, I used to do, a little bit more than you, and now I'm doing way less. That's because I was using Praha before as my resistance leader. Now I use him as my leader. I was using Fire Monkey King on and off when I'm actually raiding with people, but even though he has max skills and I grinded him out pretty decently well, as you can see, I did take some runes off of him. I traded like 1 rune into this guy because I think I'm sitting my Fire Monkey King forever now. Like, I did use him front line with better runes. I just changed them, moved him over to the Fire Panda. I think it's a direct 100% all-around upgrade. I lose a little bit of damage for a gigantic amount of contribution, which might actually cause the rest of our raid to succeed more and deal more damage and cause faster runs because of the defense break uptime. But whatever. Besides all the hype around this Panda, I think that he's a 5 out of 5 unit for raids. A have to build unit. You absolutely have to have him. Absolutely have to. Besides that, I want to move on. To the fusions. So before I used to I was saying in the beginner advice, Ifrit first fusion. Ifrit's gonna carry you in dragons, TOA, giants until you start to get better things. I'm going to say that directly. The next step on the agenda is to start grinding your runes. After you're done with dragons and giants, you start grinding your runes and you start to go to necro. This fusion, I would say, is the 2nd fusion. Now, it is definitely Ifrit first into the Panda. 2nd, you should always be looking for this throughout the entirety of your game as a new player. You should be looking for this Panda fusion, saving these units, just holding on to them. Don't rush it. Rush your normal teams like before. Follow the guide as the beginner guide before. That's the most efficient way early on. But slowly but surely be planning the Fire Panda as you move forward through the game. Now, when you're in necro, one of the main things you want to really be aware of when you're trying to build a team is how do you get multi-hits efficiently without building units that you're just never going to use again. Like, I actually built on a whim very, very fast without hesitance. I built Gibraltar. I built Huahi relatively fast. I don't regret her necessarily, but I do regret Gibraltar. I built Lynette. I don't regret her because she's absolutely amazing. But I do regret Gibraltar, keep in mind. I think that's all I really built for Necro at that time. I did end up building a Windlich, which is absolutely amazing. He's helped me out so much for my speed clears. I think my fastest run is like 1 minute 24 seconds in Necro, which is really, really good. The record, I think, is like 1 minute 2 seconds. So, I mean, like, that's a relevantly fast speed. Very close to record, and that's kind of what you want to be thinking about, is how can I get the fastest run with the ruins and units that I have. Now, I attribute that fully to Lisa and Colleen and Rogue. But then also Fuko. Because the team-ups and the multi-hits on auto-attack, I'm going to break the shield so fast. Also, all of these units have Violent Revenge on them. That's the biggest part. That's why you need to go to Dragons first. Violent Revenge, very, very, very important. Now, at a lower stage of the game, you might not see these same exact stats, because I'm going very, very YOLO, because my towers are actually maxed. So I have 20% defense and 20% HP that you guys don't actually see right here. So I'm getting a small defensive increase that you might need to make up for, and you might need to adjust your stats appropriately for your level of play. If you start removing attack power, not only do you need more defense and HP, you need much more defense and HP, because you're not killing the units as fast. So a lot of the times when you're trying to break into Necro, you won't see the attack stats that I have on these units. You're not going to see the HP defense stats on your units, because you might fail or lose depending on those units. All right. So really think about building like tanky survival. Focus on surviving and just getting it down first. Don't try and like build the attack power, unless maybe you have a Fuko. Fuko scales off of defense because of his shield. I think he's very easy to bring in. If you do have him, you're probably in luck. I think he's one of the better Necro units, especially for breaking in early as a new player. Let alone, I'm using it in my speed run. My fastest run is this team right here. You're looking at it. I think that if I put another Roke in there, if I ever make another Roke, I might be able to get a faster run because of the more team-ups and more multi-hits. But I don't know if it's going to be consistently faster, or if I'll fail more often, or what. But I need to do testing on that. But that's not really the point about speedruns. It's mostly about being efficient. Being efficient is the biggest part about this transition that you're about to make. You're about to go to Necro, you're about to go to Raid. You want to be the most efficient person you can possibly be when you're creating your units. So I kind of have a list of units you should not build and a list of units you should build. When you go to this monster use segment, this new feature, and you go to B10, you're going to see Adrian, you're going to see Gibraltar, you're going to see Yen. Well, Yen, I mean, that's a 4-star. You might not have it, but whatever. Those units might seem appealing to you, but I would highly recommend that you stay away from those 3 units. Those 3 units directly will slow you down on your progression. They're also not used that much outside of Necro itself. Adrian is Necro only, Gibraltar is Necro only, and then Yen is very, very low use, but you might be able to use it outside of Necro. It's not Necro only, but it is low use. Same thing with, I would say, Huahi is low use. She's not Necro only, but she is low use, and you probably want to stay away from her. Chilling is high use. You could probably use that all over the game. I would say Dragons, Necro, and maybe Guild Wars even. But it depends on how you build and what you want to do. But one of the best ways, like if you have a Shiwa, one of the best ways that I've seen so far, one of the record runs was Shiwa, double Roke, Hua, and Colleen. And that double Roke and Colleen strategy, the reason why Colleen's up there at 20% is because she works so well in Raid as well. So she's such a good multi-tool unit. She could be used for TOA if you want to heal and have a power buff in TOA. Guild Wars, even people use her on Guild Wars defense at a lower level. People use her in Raid all the time at R5 all the way throughout the entire game. She's such a good unit. She is an absolute must. You have to have her. You probably already have Bella. That's why it's so high up there. You might already have Hua. That's why it's so high up there. Adrian's a 3-star farmable. And, I mean, when it comes to these 4-stars, there's 4 4-stars that are not farmable in the top 10. Or in the top 7 right here. Well, if you have any of those, you should probably build it. Let's be real. You should probably build it. Roke is a very good choice, and Lynette is a really good choice. Lynette was given to us, and I know I'm going to sound like, oh man, I'm listing off all these units that you might have or might not have, but that's besides the point. basically all you need is a slow, a defense break, and a lot of multi-hits and some team-ups. So if you have like Lisa or Roke, whatever one works, or both, and then multi-hits on auto-attack, then you're fine. That's all you really need. It's a very easy place to get starting to farm. But that's mostly if you need the runes that actually drop from there. And here's the list. If you need these runes, go check them out. Go see what you can do to build the team for it. But keep in mind that there's a thing called raid. And it's not working right now, which is why I'm making the video right now. Can't make a party, but that's besides the point. I'm going to show you guys my raid team. My raid team is, right now, it is Fire Panda, leader, frontline, next to Diaz, which I got when he was HOH. So, what I would recommend if you don't have him is to get the farmable unit Darien, build him something relevantly like this, high resistance, high defense, high HP, with accuracy and speed focus, preferably triple broken because you don't want a violent proc. The boss does not like it when you violent proc when you're not protecting your team. The more turns you take that are violented or like just anything, anytime you move and you actually pick an ability, like your character picks an ability, ever, no matter what, you give the boss a ticker up to 15 and he will revenge you, get stronger, deal more damage every time that you move 15 times. So for the units that are low priority use, units that do little to nothing, this unit does little to nothing other than revenge and heal block and once in a while power break. That's all you really need it to do. It doesn't do high damage and it doesn't heal your team and protect your team. So there's no point on giving it violent. That being said, that really needs to get understood that when you give those units violent, it actually does increase your fail rate of your raid because you are making the boss stronger as a whole for your friends as well. So if your friends are weaker and you're all violent, yes, you might live because you're all violent, but they might actually wipe because you're all violent. You gave the boss more more attack power, so you're actually helping your friend wipe. But if you were to, conform into like a strategy like this, you might actually help them out. Don't really see it that much. It doesn't really happen that much in R5s, but a lot of times it's a common mistake in R3s and R4s that have been seen on the builds. But that's my front line. My back line is Colleen, which I've already said a million times. She is an absolute amazing unit. Violent Revenge, of course, obviously for Necro, but the same exact build translates right over and works right over into Raid as long as you have speed on 2 slot. I do speed defense accuracy because her debuffs are extremely important and I have decent runes enough for her to live in backline. I wouldn't recommend putting her up front, kind of makes no sense. I use Perna personally, but you could find replacements. There's pretty much anything you can replace it with is going to work. Hua is the next unit I use. I use her on Swift because I want to control how much the boss actually gets decreased. The more you deny the boss a turn, he builds up another ticker, a different ticker. The more you remove his attack bar and the more you attack him, the larger this other ticker can get, and it will increase the damage when he finally does get to attack you. So when he jumps in the air, if he ever hits you with any kind of damage, it will be modified by that ticker. So if you keep, like let's say you went all Berettas, just hypothetically, you can't, but let's say you did, and you kept turbulencing the boss on cooldown forever. When he finally jumps in the air, he's going to do an insane amount of damage to you. So the thing is like, if you're wiping and you have an extremely heavy gauge reduction comp, like all your units are gauge reduction based, it might be because you're taking too much burst all at once. I rarely ever see my team wipe, in the middle stage of the bosses. I'm usually only wiping later on in the stage of the boss, typically when the boss is hitting extremely hard and there's a lot of pressure and my team gets caught by bad RNG where it just, keeps it AoE CC'd and AoE slowed consistently. And then my last unit rotates in between Lisa as my Dispeller and Kona as my Dispeller. The boss has 2 abilities. One of them, he checks the front line units. He checks their defense number and applies damage to your effective health, which effective health is just your defense and your HP ratios. It's like an invisible number on a on an equation that just multiplies your defense and your HP by a certain variable and creates a effective health pool. So he'll do effective HP damage because he doesn't actually. I don't think he ignores your defense, or does he? I don't know. I don't think he does, but he does ignore all buffs. So you can't bring in like invincibility and expect to ignore it. It will actually go through shield. It will go through anything. It ignores all buffs, and it will go through right to your HP and hit you. So what you want is you want high HP, but you want really high defense. And it seems to be like there's tapering points where once you hit to a certain point of defense, you need HP in order to take the actual damage. Because otherwise sometimes you're going to die because you don't have enough of the EHP value, effective health point value, but you have the defense. So if you have like 1,000,000 defense, but you only have 1 HP, he's going to hit you for 1 HP and you'll die, right? That's the kind of theory that I'm holding behind, I guess, on that. I did try out a really, really heavy defense-based build, triple defense-based build, and he was dying. I went to a double defense build, and he was still dying. And then I looked up EHP formula and ran a Rune Optimizer for EHP build on him, and I got this exact build, HP defense, and it was what did it. It got me over the edge, and I stopped dying because of double HP defense. This seems to be the correct formula. I watched it right in front of my eyes, 3 different tries, 3 different ways, and this stopped him from dying. And I mean, it was a problem. My damage reducer with, nearly 100% resistance, but with resistance leader well over 100% resistance, was dying. I didn't even give him violent. I gave him a triple broken set, Revenge, Guard, Endure. Like, I was like, how am I not making him live? I'm giving him 3 defensive stats, no speed. I could not make him live. He just died all the time. Like, not all the time, but once in a while he would die. And when he dies, that's a huge deal. So I ended up making that change and began living because of it. Now, this unit is kind of an exception. He dies all the time near the end of the boss. Almost every match I go in, he dies near the end. But I still haven't grinded much on him, which reminds me, I can grind right now. I'm still trying to grind him up because he does have relevantly new runes. A lot of them are from units that weren't being utilized, runes that were like kind of hand-me-downs. But I did get a decent value here. I do need to stat change some of this stuff so I can get some more accuracy on him eventually too when I get the grindstones. But that's what I've been raiding for. That's what I would be raiding for right now. But can't obviously do that because it's down. Raid's like, there's a glitch right now or something. But eventually I'm going to stack... Wow, this room. A green. Eventually I'm going to grind him up a little bit more and he'll be able to survive a little bit better. I mean, look at that. I already made a small increase on him. Maybe that's enough. But I need the defense, HP, grindstones, HP... defense... But I would still go for this kind of a build. Maybe if you are noticing that yours is dying, go HP, defense, HP crit damage, defense. Because then you'll have the good EHP build that's actually going to help you survive. It depends on your rune qualities and what you're going to be able to do. But I would highly recommend him, Colleen. Back on track for more like a farmable team too. Trying to optimize. I got mistracked. Trying to optimize at this stage of the game. I'm giving you my example of where you will be, where you should be looking forward to. Whoops. what you want to do is you want to try and combine as many units from your Necro team into your Raid team. So when you're thinking about what to build, who to build, those are going to be your main options. Right now, I would say Colleen and Panda are absolute musts. They're kind of going to be, they're not even, it's not cookie cutter at this point. They're just, they relegate the other units. They kind of force you into using them because of how good they actually are. And when you kind of see them in action, you really understand why you can't really like replace these units. What they do is immense. Darien, the damage reducing role, you always want that. And then Kona, another farmable unit. Her or Lisa is totally fine, but Kona you definitely want for raids. And I mean, that's already 4 of your raid team on farmable, like just straight from farmable. You kind of want to stay away from units that use buffs unless they're, you know, helping you survive in some way, shape, or form. Power buff actually helps you survive because the boss gets stronger over time. As I stated before, the ticks stack up 15 and he gets stronger because he dispels you, and right then and there he gets more attack power, and from there on out he's stronger forever until he dies, and then you play it again. But Colleen will help you avoid that slight enrage by power buffing your units for 3 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. She has 100% uptime, so this is probably one of the best units when it comes down to your power buff uptime. Not only that, she has power break, multi-hitting, and heal block. 2 abilities that actually matter, because when the boss dispels you of your buffs, he attempts to heal, and if it's not heal block, you're actually going to prolong the fight by a serious duration. It actually is very big depending on how many buffs he dispelled off of you. So that's why you really want to bring as many heal blocks as possible, and as many power breaks, as many slows and whatnot as possible, so then he doesn't, you know, get that debuff off. Because if that happens, then I mean, you're as good as toast. I almost never see him heal. When he does, typically the fight's really close. If not, we sometimes even wipe because of that. Another unit, Bella. That's a 5th unit right there. Bella is, I mean, she's amazing. Absolutely amazing. With that, that's free. It's already given from you. You've already came from the beginner advice into this intermediate advice. Bella, you already had it. You can bring it along with you. You don't even have to make it. But the rest are kind of mandatory. You do kind of have to make them. You definitely want Darien. You definitely want Kona. You definitely want Colleen. Definitely want that Panda. And then from there, what's better than Bernard? Now, it kind of sucks because you have 3 buffs, and really on R5 3 buffs kind of sucks. But with your heal blocks and your turn advantages and whatnot, and how early in the game you might be at this point, you are going to be able to break into like a raid 3 scenario faster than most people are going to be able to. Doing a team like this, you'll easily get your 30% contribution in raid 2 and raid 1 with a team just like this. And these are from the runes, and you'll be able to optimize these runes. You use Bernard in Giants, Dragons, and now you're going to be able to use them in raid as well. You can safely put very good Bernard runes on your Bernard and get away with it. You know, like, you can put your best Swift set on him and have no regrets because you're using him all over the place. And that's really what you want at an earlier stage of the game, is to keep your runes consolidated on units that are going to be multi-tools all over the place and actually work. Because, I mean, you get power buff and you get defense break and you get speed buff. Downside, you might be dispelled for a huge heal, and your fellow friends that are raiding might hate you for it, but if they're all bringing their Colleens, then nobody's going to know the difference. But at the end of the day, I think that's pretty much everything when it comes down to this transition. The main thing that I didn't really go over is how to accolade with your resources. And what I mean by that is glory shops. What is the most important thing in glory? What I would do is I would try to get a base of everything. Get a little bit of everything. After you've farmed out these initial 4 right here, these 4 are your regeneration. This is regeneration. This is an investment into your future. The faster you get these 4 done, preferably energy and energy capacity, mana, and mana capacity, the faster you get these 4 done, the more they're going to make you over time. And they're really, really important to get out of the way as soon as possible. Same thing as these guys out here. I don't use them too much anymore, but once in a while I do. Like I just got an Eladriel the other day, I threw them in there. Once in a while, these pay themselves off over time. Same thing as the Crystal Giant, he pays himself off over time too. Make sure that you guys get that as soon as possible. I know that this is beginner stuff, but whatever. Then I want to tell you guys, you want a little base of everything because the effective cost is so low early on that when you get maybe 3 levels and everything, once you get that, you can start to put into speed. Speed is not only defensive, it's offensive. Speed is not only defensive and offensive, but it's also a form of dispel. You not only that, it's like everything. It's more healing. It's cooldown reduction. It's literally like the lifeblood essence of this game. Like speed is everything. It is so big. This speed, this 15%, it multiplies on speed buffs as well from Bernard, which is a huge reason why Bernard is so big, because he's used from the beginning to the end, and he just never goes away. He's just so good. Then crit damage is very important. HP is very important. And defense is really important. Those 3 are the most efficient. Dead people don't deal damage. Defense and HP are an absolute must. Crit damage is really cheap, and for what it does, this is probably the most game-changing tower of them all. It's not the most potent tower, but is the most rune game-changing. Because you have 25% crit damage, your relativity on crit damage versus attack power ratios will change how you ruin things forever. How you look at crit damage forever. A lot of players actually, in an earlier stage of the game, you're going to be ruining extremely high crit damages. I mean, your runes might look like this. This is a really old set of mine, and it used to be really optimal for me back in the day before I had crit damage tower maximum. Something like this is actually really good, but once you get your crit damage tower maximum, you don't ruin like this ever again. You ruin more like this, or like this, or like this. And if you notice what I'm doing here, less crit damage, more attack, more crit rate. You're focusing very heavily on consistently critting for large amounts of damage, but it's also added by the crit damage tower. Now, later on in the game, you start to realize that relativity between your crit damage and attack power is very important, and you have to weigh each individual rune to the other rune. Everybody always asks me, Bomber, what should I use, this rune or this rune? I'm like, I don't know. Run the numbers on your unit. Your unit's set determines if this X rune right here is better than this rune right here. It has nothing to do with that. Take it off. I mean, if you want to waste the money, take off the rune, put on the other rune, run your damage calculation. How much damage would you do? And then do the other thing. Is it worth it sacrificing HP to you? It's all suggestible, up to you and your current rune set. I can't look at a rune and tell you which one's better. I could, but it would be wrong, because everything's about relativity, and the rest of your set makes up what this rune actually is equal to you. Then I wanted to go over grindstones. Who do you grindstone, and why? Well, you don't go and grindstone your arena team. I'm going to tell you that right now. You just got into Raid 3. You're just starting Necro. Don't go and grind your Giants team. You already did Giants for so long. You don't need to do it. Don't grindstone your Dragons team. Grindstone your Raid team so you can do Raid 4. Put everything into your Raid team or your Necro team. Whatever you're struggling with more. And it's probably going to be Raid, because Raid, you're only probably doing Raid 3 at this time. If you're along that point. Put your grindstones into your Raid runes, and that's what I did right away. Me and everybody else, right when Raid came out, we all put our Raid grindstones into our Raid units to create our Raid team's efficiency. Because it's a new content. It needs to be done efficiently. We need it the most. We need to keep going in there, go up to Raid 5, can clear it better, faster, more reliable. That's what it's all about. And I'm approaching 30 minutes, and that's awesome. I'm at 30 minutes and 8 seconds. Perfect, dude. Like, I covered, I think, pretty much everything. And if you guys have any questions about what you should do, feel free to comment below. If you haven't already, check out my stream. I stream at twitch.tv/Omgbomber. I stream all the time, and I'm glad to help you guys out as much as I can. I get swamped all the time, so just stay consistent. Keep asking the question. I will answer, I promise. And I love you guys. I really do. I love our community. I'm glad to be a part of it for so long. I'm glad to be somebody that you guys actually come out, check out what my advice is on the game. And I appreciate your guys' viewership. I do. I really do. Peace out, guys. I hope this helped you out.